We want to solve the polynomial inequality and graph the solution set on a real number line. Express the solution set in interval notation. The polynomial inequality that we're working with is x squared less than or equal to 8x minus 13. So the first thing that I want to do is rewrite this so that I have 0 on one side of the inequality. I'll move all those terms to the left-hand side to give x squared minus 8x plus 13 is less than or equal to 0. Having a 0 on one side of your inequality is really important to the process because it tells us what sign we're looking for, whether we're looking for positive, negative, or 0. So because this inequality has less than, that means that we're going to be looking for negative values. And because we have the equal to, we're also looking for values that equal to 0 that solve this inequality. So we'll start off by finding the boundary points. And to find the boundary points, we're going to solve the equation x squared minus 8x plus 13 equals 0. So you can think of these as boundary points or x-intercepts. So if I try to solve this quadratic equation by factoring, I think we're going to see that it doesn't factor. X times x is x squared. The only factors of 13 are 13 and 1, and those won't produce the 8 in the middle that we need, that negative 8 in the middle. So factoring is not going to work, but we could use completing the square or the quadratic formula to solve. So I'm going to use the quadratic formula. I need to know the coefficients. A is 1, B is negative 8, and C is 13. The quadratic formula is negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. We'll substitute those coefficients into the quadratic formula to give negative 8 plus or minus the square root of negative 8 squared minus 4 times 1 times 13 all over 2 times 1. We'll simplify. Negative 8 is a positive 8. Negative 8 squared is 64. 4 times 13 is 52. And that's a minus 52 all over 2. 64 minus 52 would give me a 12 underneath the radical. 12 is the same thing as 4 times 3. And I can take the square root of 4. The square root of 4 is 2, and the 3 stays inside the radical. And then finally we have 4 plus or minus square root of 3 if I divide that 2 into both those terms. So I get boundary points of 4 plus square root of 3 and 4 minus square root of 3. I'm going to put those points on my graph, 4 minus square root of 3 and 4 plus square root of 3. And because our inequality is going to include equal 0, we're going to include these boundary points. So these 2 points are solutions to that inequality. So now I need to test each one of these intervals. So I need points in each one of those intervals. Before I can choose points, it would be helpful if I knew what 4 minus square root of 3 is and 4 plus square root of 3 is. Otherwise, I'm just guessing. So let's, in the calculator, write 4 minus square root of 3. That's 2.27. And 4 plus square root of 3 is 5.7. So now I can be more careful about my test points. I need to pick something that is less than 2.27, and 0 is a good choice there. I need to pick something that's in between 2.27 and 5.7. Let's pick 4. And I need to pick something that's greater than 5.7. Let's choose 6. And we're going to substitute those test points into our polynomial or quadratic. So for x equals 0, we get 0 squared minus 8 times 0 plus 13. And that works out to be 13. So in this interval, we have positive y values. And then we're going to continue to test x equals 4, the next test point. That would be 4 squared minus 8 times 4 plus 13. So let's see, that's 16 minus 32 plus 13. That's a negative 16 plus 13. That works out to be negative 3. So in this interval, our y values are negative. And then our final test point, x equals 6, would give us 6 squared minus 8 times 6 plus 13. That would give us 36 minus 48 plus 13. And 36 minus 48, that's a negative 12 plus 13, and that's a positive 1. So in this interval, we get positive values. And now that we've filled out our interval, we can answer which intervals of numbers are going to satisfy the inequality. So you remember earlier we said because this inequality is less than or equal to 0, we want the negative and equal to 0. So we've got negative in the middle, and the boundary points are going to equal 0. So only that interval will provide solutions. We want to use the numbers in the exact form, which is this square root, 4 minus square root of 3, because that would be the exact answer. And then we have 4 plus square root of 3. So our solution set for this inequality would be all numbers that are in between 4 minus square root of 3 and 4 plus square root of 3. And I use the brackets to include those boundary points. Thank you for checking out my videos. Have a great day.